I am once again asking for your financial support.
Hey! We're recording the podcast! Shut up!
Good morning to you, wherever you are, because it is
Morning Somewhere!
for September 13th, 2024. My name is Bernie Burns. I was a little late on that one. Sitting right over there, she's neither early nor late. It's Ashley Burns.
I arrive exactly when I intend.
A co-host arrives exactly when she intends. How you doing, Ash?
Yeah, happy Friday. Happy Friday the 13th.
Look at you. Oh, it is Friday the 13th.
Get spooky, everybody.
God, scary numbers, everybody. Scary numbers. What's the bad number in Asian culture?
Is it 7?
I don't know what it is. I don't think
Or
it's
is that
7.
lucky?
No, lucky's 8. Lucky's 8. I had for some reason, I asked one of my friends who was Chinese American in the U.S. I was looking in the early 90s. I was looking for auto insurance. And he said, oh, use my agent. And so I used her. I ended up being like one of the only primarily English-speaking clients. She catered to the Asian immigrant population of Austin. And so whenever I called, they were like, why are you calling our office? And one time I had to read to her my, the code on the back, the 3-digit code on the back of your card for making a credit card payment. Mm-hmm. And mine was 888. Seriously? She went, very lucky. She just said that like with reverence, like very, very lucky. She was trying to figure out a way if she could buy my credit card from me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
It was a big deal. And I've seen this in distilleries. We have a lot of tourism from Asian countries. And a lot of times when you're in the distillery shops, the bottles are numbered. And people will go through and try to find something that has an 8 on it.
Interesting.
All the time.
So was that card lucky for you?
I'm going to say, yeah, why not? Sure. I guess it was perfectly fine. It was perfectly fine. But it's funny how numbers just mean different things in different places. Like we've just decided that 13, that's a bad number.
Right. So it's like we're just not going to have a 13th floor.
7 is a good number.
We skipped straight to 14, even though it's 13.
Even though it's 13. So happy September 14th. We're going to skip over 13.
It just doesn't exist.
I like how numbers are like the most, like anytime there's like a sci-fi story or something, the way they first communicate with each other is establishing numbers is the first thing. But yet, with our numbers, when we get to a certain part, we're like, and, just add a day in. Like every 4 years, well, one more day. Just,
Or like, I just don't like that number. Let's skip that number.
We're not going to do a quarter extra day every year. So just like, we'll catch up at some point. Get all this wiggle room in there.
Explain that to your musical aliens.
Speaking of numbers.
What is that? You just waving a check around?
I'm waving a check. Do you know what this is? Do you know what that is?
A check?
I'm so happy today. So there's a major difference between the UK and the US. We had a power outage about a month and a half ago, right? Maybe 2 months ago.
It was like overnight. It was like 9 p.m. or something. The power went out. And I went, all right, I guess we're all going to bed.
I guess we're going to bed. We lit a fire and then we went to bed, basically. And it was 9 p.m. to 2 a.m., I think it was when the outage was. Middle of the night, sleeping. Everyone else is like, you go to bed at 9 p.m.?
Welcome to parenthood.
The answer is yes, we do.
If at all possible, yes.
We have a morning show, for God's sake, that we record at 11 a.m. So what do I have in my hands here, Ashley? An unsolicited payment because there was an unscheduled power outage. And so they sent me a check. The power company sent me a check because that's what I'm entitled to in my rights as a UK person living here. I'm not citizen.
Well, that's a lucrative evening for us.
That's crazy. We should like cut some more power cables and stuff like that.
Look, we're coming up to another winter. We've got friends in Austin who are going to be suffering power cuts. What do they get? Are they going to be getting these checks from power companies, Bernie?
I actually have a statement here from the Austin Power Company about that. Will we be getting a check, Austin Power Company?
Maybe not. Maybe fuck yourself.
In Texas, they went like 3 days without power in the middle of a freeze, and they were just like, suck it up, bitches.
Like this is what this is. Get your freedom on.
So I've actually run into this before. This is one of the nice things, and I don't think people talk about this enough because it's just like the little cultural differences. I had a flight that was delayed, and as soon as my flight was delayed, I was flying from the airport in London that's not Gatwick and it's not Heathrow.
Is it Luton?
Yeah, Luton. That's it. And my flight was delayed by like 3 or 4 hours, which happens all the time. But just sometimes your flights get delayed. As soon as that happened, I started getting notifications from the airline about what my rights were. Like I was guaranteed that they had to provide food for me. If it went overnight, they were going to have to provide lodging. You know, in America, basically what they do is like, get the fuck off the plane. Everybody line up for 5 hours. And then if you're mean enough, we'll give you a hotel voucher or something like that. I feel like that's the way that works.
Yeah, but it's absolute. But
Also get to the hotel on your own.
all the other cascading issues, costs that you're going to have, go fuck yourself.
So this is from the Civil Aviation Authority in the UK. This is from their website. I'm just going to read the part on compensation. Ashley, checks. Checks. Compensation. Under UK law, airlines may have to provide compensation if your flight arrives at its destination more than 3 hours late. Happens all the time. I'll just go down to the little chart here. The length of the flight. A short haul flight of under 1,500 kilometers. That's about 900 miles. 220 pounds compensation. So a flight from their example here is Glasgow to Amsterdam. You would be compensated 220 pounds, money in your pocket.
I mean, that's practically the price of a ticket.
Medium haul flight of 1,500 kilometers to 3,500 kilometers is 350 pounds. And then a flight, the equivalent of London to New York in distance, would be 520 pounds if it arrives 3 hours late.
Wow, that's
In the pocket, babe. In
nice.
the pocket.
Nice job, Europe.
Listen, here's how you can make a lot of money. Imagine if you're in the airport and there's a power outage and it makes all the flights late. Then you're like banking money left and right. You're getting money from the power company. You're getting money from the airlines. I got a new business model here, babe.
Well, you're getting all the fun communications. I'm just getting a bunch of like campaign emails, like asking for donations. I'm just counting this out. In the last 12 hours, I have received 4 emails requesting campaign donations. It's insane. It's like I can barely see it in my regular email. Not that I have a lot of it. I'm getting less than 4 regular emails every 12 hours. So it's crazy to me.
And maybe we should really start looking at that. And before we get too far away from the airline conversation, there are rules, like if they can say it's beyond their control, like weather and things like that.
Ah, the infamous act of God.
They can get out via that loophole. And I'm sure airlines tell everyone it's always beyond their control or something like that.
Sure, of course. Like, look, I'm sorry. God just really didn't want you to make that flight.
Yeah, but it is nice that they have to notify me, and then I have the piece of paper in my hand saying, I want this money, and then they have to either explain to me why they can't give it to me. It's a baseline for having the conversation, as opposed to just like get in line at like 10:30 p.m. and hope they get to you by like 2 a.m.
Yeah, and hope and you just hope vaguely that someone knows more than you about what you're supposed to get.
Yeah. But this I think if we look at the way people raise money for political campaigns, it's starting to remind me a little bit of the new religion, because it's all the same messaging, right? It's like, unless you give me money, your way of life will be destroyed.
Yeah, like if you don't donate, we will lose, and these terrible things will happen.
Like literally, like sometimes hell on earth is the way they try to describe it to you. Like every possible right will be stripped away from you, or the moral fiber of the country that you grew up and loved in is going to be destroyed. Whatever side you get these from, it's always these like doom and gloom. Unless you give me money, and then we'll get it all figured out for you.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. But I mean, I feel like I brought this on myself too, because one time when we were living in Austin, someone came around the house. They had a petition or something, and
what?
They went, they're telling me about it, and I was like, yeah, no, that actually sounds reasonable. So I went ahead and signed. Big mistake. Big, huge.
Yep.
It got to the point after that where like I would see someone coming up the stairs and hide, because I got so many canvassers coming to the house being like, this person will sign petitions. They're going to sign your thing. They're going to donate to your campaign. Go for that person. They're the weak point. I was like hiding behind the couch waiting for them to go away.
I'm not sure if hobo is, an antiquated term at this point. But like, have you ever heard about the marks they put on people's like fences and houses for? Like,
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
you got that.
Yeah, the transient markings.
Yeah, but it was a college kid who was like working a summer program who does that. They put a little mark on the mailbox. Like, come here. She'll sign the petition. You'll get one signature today.
You'll get
this lady.
You're gonna get your numbers.
Yeah, it is. It is. Sometimes those organizations, when you decide to help out something, they will fucking punish you. They will punish you. They will just always come back until the end of time. Have you ever, can I ask you a question? You can out yourself or not.
Yeah.
Have you ever donated to Wikipedia?
Yes.
I have as well. And I'm pleasantly surprised.
And I don't regret it.
I'm pleasantly surprised that they don't like target me specifically. At least I hope not. I hope the constant half-page banner ads that show up on Wikipedia,
That's enough.
those are for everybody, right? Those aren't just
those
for
are
me.
for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it'd be nice if they're like, hey, this guy gave us like $10 one time. We'll let him go for a couple years. He can read about the Battle of Hastings for the 15th time.
Or if you're like JD, just set it as your homepage and you learn about a new random thing every single day.
Only person I've ever met in my life whose homepage is the front page of Wikipedia. I didn't even know that Wikipedia had a front page.
Look, better educated than either of us.
We were, I should have known that though, because we were the article of the day one time. I don't know if it was Rooster Teeth or I think it was Red versus Blue was the article of the day on Wikipedia.
It's very exciting.
And then I was like, what a huge honor that I didn't know existed until I got it.
But now I'm so proud of it.
Watch out, Beyonce. I'll be tying your record for VMAs before you know it. All right, well, what's going on in the world, Ashley? Can we talk about some of these layoffs so we can get through this stuff before we get on to some more entertaining stuff?
Yeah. So Microsoft just announced that they are cutting more jobs in their Xbox division. Specifically, they're cutting 650 jobs. As I understand it, the roles are primarily around administration and that kind of thing, aimed in the direction of Activision Blizzard, which they recently acquired. They already did, I think, some pretty heavy layoffs after that acquisition. So this is another round.
Wow,
they're trimming up.
Keeps going.
It is. It's been a really tough year for the industry layoff wise. This isn't at the scale of what was happening at the beginning of the year. That was just like an absolute bloodbath. But it is still very unfortunate.
Yeah.
There's another interesting thing happening as well overnight, and that is, have you heard of Annapurna Interactive?
Before we talk about them, can we go to a middle ground one on this? So Microsoft cut a bunch of jobs. Before the Annapurna one is amazing to me. But before we get to that, in the middle of this on the spectrum, Boeing workers voted 96% to go on strike.
Yeah, so earlier this week, I think you mentioned that Boeing had offered their workers a 25% pay increase to try to avoid striking. The workers have rejected that. They're actually going for like 40%.
May I make a clarification there too? I read further and somebody in the subreddit told me that was over 3 years. So not 25%.
Okay, so it's not just like...
Yeah, they're not going to 25% pay. That was not the offer, like a big pay bump, which is what it seemed in the headlines.
I see. So they are, they're aiming more for like in the range of 40%. They voted 96% to go ahead with a strike starting today.
Yeah.
So that's a power move from the Boeing workers.
Yeah. That's Boeing getting from their employees basically a lower rating than Borderlands on Rotten Tomatoes. Essentially, I think even Rotten Tomatoes got 5%. They got 5% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that's a rough one.
Well, then moving on the spectrum to the Annapurna boss move.
Yeah, this is the other extreme end of this,
Yeah.
which I think this is a fascinating way to approach this.
The entire Annapurna Interactive, that's the games division of Annapurna, has just resigned en masse. So there were talks between Annapurna Interactive and the main arm of Annapurna to spin the Interactive division off as its own company. Talks broke down. The CEO, the boss of Annapurna
Megan
Interactive,
Ellison, billionaire Megan Ellison, who was also the founder of the company.
Annapurna, the overall company, and then Gary. What is his name?
No,
Nathan Gary, who runs the interactive portion of the company, was in talks to spin that off as its own company. Talks broke down. He resigned, and everyone else at Annapurna Interactive resigned as well. So just en masse, they all are out.
Gotta say,
they all walked.
Gotta say, baller move. Very easy for me to say sitting here when it's not my paycheck on the line, but that is a baller move. Everybody walked out and resigned.
No, that's what makes it a baller move.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be really easy to say, like, oh, just walk out if you don't like things. That's an easy thing to say when it's not your paycheck on the line.
I mean, it
People
is.
actually doing that, that's huge. En masse, they all did it. So I think the speculation is that they will go reform a studio completely independent under a different name. it means all the IP and everything does stay with Annapurna.
And they'll probably get hammered with the lawsuit when they start that new company. It'll probably happen. It depends on how much bad press Annapurna wants at that point. Maybe they'll just let it go, but probably not.
Yeah, possibly. We'll see. We don't know exactly what is going to happen, but it is it's enough to me that they all walked. Every single one of them. There's a lot of games that have come out of Annapurna Interactive that are really cool. You were talking about Control. You really liked that one.
Did that come out of Annapurna? Control? I think it was. There were people who were concerned that Control. Also, I didn't really like that game. There were people who were concerned that Control was going to be affected by this. This is a weird game where you play like a
no, that's my mistake.
Enabled
that's by Remedy.
FBI agent who fights flying refrigerators. That's not hyperbole. And they were worried. People were worried, and speculation was going to affect that franchise. But there's some kind of cinematic adaptation agreement between Annapurna overall.
Oh, I see. Okay, so it may be that they have an agreement with Annapurna, like the film division or something like that. Because it looks like no, Control was developed by Remedy Entertainment and published by 505 Games. But
I didn't dislike Control either, by the way. Complete tangent while people's jobs are on the line. I didn't dislike it either. I just thought it was really fucking weird.
It was very strange. It was like a hallucination of a game.
Yeah.
But they did make Stray, the game that came out recently where you play as a cat. Very cute.
So when they made it, did they make it or did they publish it? Because that's another thing too, because Annapurna's also, this was primarily the publishing arm that got booted. But either way, I shouldn't say got booted, they all walked out.
It was published by them.
Okay, yeah. So this is more of a publishing arm of Annapurna, very important in the video game industry. It doesn't take away from anything at all that they were negotiating, the employees were negotiating with their employer, and then they all fucking resigned. I think that's so fucking cool.
No,
it's such a baller move.
So all credit to them for actually like putting their paychecks where their mouths were and walking.
It makes those 4% at Boeing kind of look like, oh, you guys just had to go on strike. These guys are like, but this guy's 100% like hit the door.
Doing a hard mode.
Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. Well, good luck to them. I hope whenever they launch their new venture, it's great. I can't help but wonder sometimes, you work at any company, when you go to form a new one, you kind of hope that like everyone who walked out will go to the new one, but it might be the case of like, yeah, there's like 10 of us who are going to do a new thing and good luck to everybody else,
Yes. Oh, and they may end up in like several smaller studios all focused on their own thing, and that can be a good thing as well. Well, since we've been talking video game stuff, just a quick shout out. You remember the game Concord that was recently shut down by Sony like a week after it came out? 69 people have got the Platinum Trophy in that game. That number is not going to get bigger. That number is not going to get higher unless Sony re-releases the game in some way with the exact like trophy lineup intact as it is. That number is not going to get any higher. Only those 69 people will ever have a platinum in that game.
You know what a 68 is in the sexual metaphor? Have you heard 68? Since we're talking about numbers today, like Friday the 13th.
Is that a mess?
8. No. What's wrong with you? We all know what 69 is, right?
I just seems like a whole mess over there.
You know what 68 is?
What is it?
It's you do me and I'll owe you one. So you asked me if I remembered Concord to start this discussion off. I do remember Concord. I wonder how many people are going to remember Concord ongoing. Can you pin an achievement in PlayStation?
I don't know. I think it's going to be, look, there are going to be a lot of people who
like
are not going to remember this.
Yeah.
Who are, you'd be like, I got the Platinum in Concord, and they'll go, the what? The fast plane? You know
what it sounds like to me? It sounds like you spent a lot of time over the last 2 weeks to ensure for the rest of your life, you're going to have to spend 5 minutes explaining what Concord was to people to tell them why your Platinum Trophy is so cool. But it is still cool.
But the people who put in the work to do that care about that and are going to be more than happy to spend the extra 5 minutes because they already spent all those hours.
Well, the meme where the guy is standing in the corner, and everyone else is in the party. He's like, they don't know I have a Platinum Trophy.
In Concord.
I can't help but wonder. It is fun to do those things. It does become like a meta game that gamers play. But overall, I hope people didn't spend like too much time trying to get this trophy. That's no one's going to remember what the hell it was from.
I mean, look, it's all in the name of fun, right? You're only going to put the time into doing that if you want to do that. No one's
they got a
making
refund.
you.
They got a refund for
it. Yeah,
so,
it was free.
Yeah. Wait, what was it? Was it it was like a Overwatch style game?
Yeah, kind of. It was an always online, multiplayer shooter hero type game that just didn't land.
Crazy. Did you fight a flying refrigerator in it at any point in time?
Not from my understanding. Perhaps that was their mistake.
They should add more possessed refrigerators. Well, I hate to say this, but whether they were laid off this week or whether they walked out in solidarity, a lot of the employers are now going to be looking for funds. They're going to have to cut into their commercial spacewalk money, I think, for the next few months to make rent.
Bust open the piggy bank on that one.
They're going to have to push that goal out a little bit further. And I did make fun of the billionaire for doing his commercial spacewalk yesterday, but I do want to say thank you and call out a subreddit member who called me out. Let me read this directly from their post. It says, billionaire or not, this is pretty fucking cool. And this is from Tech Plasma on our subreddit. And they wrote, with Polaris Dawn in orbit, we have the most people in space at one time ever at 19 people. Sarah Gillis and Anna Menon, two SpaceX engineers, set the altitude record for women in spaceflight at 1,400 kilometers. The crew also went further out than anyone since Apollo 17, traveling through the radiation belt. So, and they said, it's often easy to criticize how people spend their money, but we should celebrate when those choices actively work toward positive goals. So, I'm going to go with Tech Plasma there. I'm going to say that you are correct, and I should be a little less cynical when it comes to that kind of thing. This is a really cool thing, and it's better than buying some island to build a nuclear climate change bunker in.
Or taking a submarine to the bottom of the ocean again.
Well, that's kind of cool too. I mean, that's
when
still
it
exploration.
works.
That's still exploration as well. But yeah, so it's cool that they've done this, and I am assuming they're going to be returning to Earth here pretty soon. I hope.
Last I heard, I think it was due back the 15th of September, so this weekend. But I don't know if that had shifted because they did delay the launch for weather.
I did notice that they launched just before September 11th. That had to be something on their calendar, right?
Right. That's like, this is a day that we just don't launch.
And they're also not returning to Earth on Friday the 13th. So, we make fun of like numerology and
they're
stuff.
Skipping right over those dates too.
Even the people who work with numbers on a high level, they do it.
How, if your space flight returns back to Earth more than 3 hours late, what kind of compensation do you think they're entitled to?
Well, we asked that with Butch and Sunny, and I saw somebody on Reddit actually pick that up, I think in the space subreddit. They're wondering, do they get overtime at this point in time? And that will become more of an issue when people who are going into space are not government employees or members of the military or something like that. They are freely employed commercial people, right?
Right. And it's like, is it time and a half? And then is it like 2.5 on holidays? Like they could be racking it up.
Yeah, they could just do the Annapurna move and go, we both quit. We're just hanging out up here.
We're going private.
Yeah, they have to put an eviction notice on the ISS for them. Send the constable up to evict them out of their space station up there.
All right, well, before we go for the weekend, I want to say thank you to today's sponsors, John Tory and Nicholas Nelson. Thank you both for sponsoring this episode of our show at patreon.com/morningsomewhere. Also, I just wanted to let everyone know that we have launched our transcripts. So if you are a member of our Patreon at the early riser level or higher, you have access now to a transcript database. There's a post about that on Patreon, and the database is on our website as well. So as long as you're logged into Patreon, you'll be able to access that and see every word we've ever spoken.
It was funny because I've had a local version of this myself this whole time, and I've been building it as we go. And then Ashley has now built the publicly visible, editable version as well. Be nice, everybody. Be nice. And it's funny because while she's been testing it and the people we've asked from the Patreon to help us test as well, she's like, this is really cool. We talked about this on this day. We did this at this time.
Or you'll say, did we talk about this? And I'll go, let me look. And I can find it. And it's great.
And the minute that we talked about it and everything else. So if you're a member of the Patreon, please enjoy that. I also want to give another shout out, since we're doing shout outs at the end of this week, to Michael Kennedy, who put out a new animation on your accidental cow story. So you can check that out on the Morning Somewhere socials. It's on the story right now, and it'll be up as a post pretty soon.
Yeah, so he posted that on his Instagram account, and we've shared it on our Instagram stories. So check it out. His animation is absolutely brilliant. It adds, I think, a really fun element to what is already, in my opinion, a hilarious story.
A ridiculous story from Ashley's youth. All right. Well, that does it for us this week, ending coming September 13th, 2024. We will be back to talk to you on Monday. We hope you will be here as well.
Bye, everybody.